All right, it takes 70 ounces of grass to seed 3,640 square feet of lawn. At this rate, how much would be needed for 6,000 square feet of lawn round to the nearest whole number? Okay, so if we look at the original directions, use a proportion to solve the problem. Now, before we talk about proportions, let's talk about ratios. Now, a ratio is a fraction with units. So in this case, the two units that are discussed in the problem are ounces and square feet. So let's say ounces over square feet. And we're given one pair of numbers, which is actually a ratio, 70 ounces and 3,640 square feet. So that is a ratio. 70 ounces goes with 3,640 square feet. Now, going back to the original directions, use a proportion to solve the problem. A proportion, a proportion is a mathematical equation or a mathematical statement that says two ratios are equal. So a ratio is a single fraction with units, and a proportion is a statement or an equation saying one ratio is equal to another ratio. For example, we know that 1 dozen is equal to, let's say, 12 eggs. And if that's true, we know that 2 dozen is equal to 24 eggs. All right, so on the left-hand side of the equation, this is a ratio. And on the right-hand side, this is another ratio. And when you say that these two are equal to each other, that is a proportion. And to solve a proportion is to say something like this. Let's go back to black. If 1 dozen is equal to 12 eggs, then 3 dozen is equal to how many eggs? Well, in this case, we don't really need to do anything fancy mathematically. We know if 1 dozen is 12, 2 is 24, and 3 would be 36. All right, so now let's use this premise in the context of this problem. So, 70 ounces will cover 3,640 square feet of lawn. Well, if every 70 ounces covers 3,640 square feet of lawn, how much would be needed? So let's look at the question. How much would be needed for 6,000 square feet of lawn? So we know the square feet is 6,000. What we don't know is how many ounces of grass seed. Now, rather than use a question mark in mathematics, when there is an unknown number, we'll usually use the symbol X. And X is basically a question mark. All right, so now what we have here, this is a proportion. And to solve this proportion would mean solve for X. So one way to do this is to cross multiply. So if we know 70 goes with 3,640 and X goes with 6,000, if we want to eliminate the fractions in this equation, we would have to multiply by both denominators, or what that basically accounts to is cross multiplying. 70 times 6,000, which would be, let's stick with blue, that would be 440 20,000. 6 times 7 is 42, and then there's 4 zeros. And x times 3,640, or 3,640x. All right, so we now have a mathematical equation here. We have to solve for x. On the right-hand side, this is multiplication. So to get rid of multiplication, we divide. So if we divide the right-hand side by 3,640, those will cancel. And if we divide the right by 3,640, well, let me bring up the calculator for this. So 420,000 divided by 3,640. And now the directions say round to the nearest whole number, so that would be 115. Right, so on the right-hand side, we have x, and on the left-hand side, according to the calculator, we have 115. So if it takes 70 ounces to cover 3,640 square feet, it should take 115 ounces to cover 6,000. Okay, that does it for this problem.